everyone, it's E Speaks Freely, and today I am outside Downing Street in central London, where Piers Corbyn has set up a, albeit small, but emergency demonstration against digital ID. Now obviously people hear digital ID, and for those that know that it's been coming for a while, it is basically like a nightmare come true. This is obviously not a normal form of identification. Obviously as a UK citizen you have your national insurance number, you have your passport, you have so many things to prove that you are a citizen and that you are legally in this country.
We're here to oppose digital ID. Through this system, which has been already operating in Vietnam and China, all your freedoms will be taken away.
And yet Keir Starmer today announced that a digital ID will become mandatory if you want to work in the UK. Now, as I said, this is not a normal form of identification. This has been in the works for a good while, probably around since the kind of Tony Blair era, but this is essentially a disguise of control. That's all this is, it's just to control you. They will have access to everything. So every piece of identification that you have, every finance that you have, every paperwork, every document, it will all be centralized into one app, which sure sounds very convenient, but of course it has to be convenient to convince the masses to use it.
If they take away cash, they take away our freedom, because they'll make all money computerized. And then if you do something wrong, they can take money out of your bank account or cancel your bank account. Please, take a leaflet.
So that's why it's so important to resist the digital ID, because once you sign up to those things, they have your entire life in one place to turn off at the flick of a switch. And with everything with the climate crisis as well, it could even extend to you're being driving, and then all of a sudden if you have an electric vehicle, it gets switched off because you've exceeded your carbon footprint for that day or for whatever time period it is. While it won't be a direct crime to refuse digital ID, what it will do is cut you off from vital services in this country, whether it be housing, bank account, jobs, anything. They can completely shut you down and exile you from society, which again is another reason why it's so important to resist it, because they can't exile us all.
Already in Vietnam, 86 million people had their bank accounts cancelled because they wouldn't cooperate with this digital ID system.
I'm here with Piers Corbyn, and we are outside the entrance to Downing Street, and today you've put on a, albeit small, but it was an emergency demo against digital ID. So would you just like to tell everyone why it is you came out today?
Yeah, we came out today because they've just made the announcement. Of course, the reason for the timing of the announcement now, rather than at the Labour Party conference where it was originally going to be, the reason for now is to hide the corruption going on about payments to the Labour Party. £750,000 not accounted for. That's big stuff. And there's other stuff he's hiding. But of course, we do have to deal with a key issue, which is digital ID. And we're here outside Downing Street to warn people and advertise things coming up. There's going to be quite a lot of protest locally. One way of protesting against digital ID is to keep cash. Go into places and say, stop Digi ID, keep cash. And boycott any establishment which refuses to take cash.
Yep.
Because you see, if they get away with having digital money, they can control us completely through a digital ID system.
Yeah.
And what if you break your carbon footprint, for example? Turn off your
Switch
money.
off your car.
And in Vietnam, 86 million bank accounts were switched off because people wouldn't cooperate with the system.
Wow.
And in China, well, there's horrific things going on in parts of China where people, again, they've got a controlling system like this. I'm not sure if it's everywhere in China, but certainly some places people get dragged away if they haven't complied with the Digi ID.
Yeah.
So, you know, join in stuff.
Well, now obviously there's a petition going on.
Yes.
That loads of people are signing. Last time I checked, which was about 9 o'clock this morning, it had reached over 800,000.
Yeah.
Do you think that if a large enough amount of people reject digital ID, we will be able to push back on it and get the government to reverse their decision?
I think so. It's good people sign these things, and that means that many, there'll have to be a debate in Parliament. However, I've been to those debates on petitions, and they just have a room, about 20 MPs sitting around saying, oh yeah, we've considered it, thank you. and
Yeah.
off they go.
So it's not a
that
real
is-
consideration.
no. But it could be if you get big numbers,
Yeah.
and some MPs will demand a debate in the full chamber, for example,
Do you think
which is
it,
important.
Do you think it will be something that will have to happen long term? Because I mean, obviously, like you just said, seeing the actual petition, even if it had, I don't know, a couple million signatures, they're not actually going to really consider it until we make it inconvenient for them and literally just don't
that is the
do the
point.
digital ID.
Completely, that is the point. These petitions can only work so far. For this, it's got to be practical resistance,
Yeah.
as I said, stopping, closing down institutions that won't accept cash. That is very important. But there's plenty of other things. If you're online, don't do all this signing up to this and that, getting all this information recorded. Don't do cookies. I've decided I'm not going to do any more cookies because all of that stuff recorded will eventually get shoved into a DigiID system,
Right.
which is total knowledge of you.
And how long has the idea of a digital ID system been being pushed, specifically in this country?
I would think really it began during the COVID lockdown when Tony Blair was saying, or a lot of them were saying, you've got to have your vax passport and so on. So that was the beginning of it. But now I think people are more aware, and if there's practical resistance, it's going to be more difficult for them. Because then, you were told, look, it's going to save your life. You've got to sign up to this, get your COVID shot, and if you don't get your COVID shot, you're going to kill somebody. You know what I mean? Granny's going to die. All that stuff. Now, I think the knowledge of the public is higher now than it was then. So it's more difficult for them.
Yeah.
But we still got to say, it's a practical resistance which counts.
Yeah.
Definitely on this.
Thanks, Piers. Thanks for
you
giving me
very
some of your
much.
time.
Stop DigiID, resist, defy, do not comply. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Already there has been a petition that has reached, last time I checked it reached over 800,000. I'm sure it's well on its way to over 1 million. And imagine if there was, 3-4 million signatures. If we knew that there was that many people in this country that were adamant to refuse and reject digital ID, then we may have a fighting chance to get the government to reverse this decision. Please do not comply with digital ID. It hasn't been too long ago that they were talking about chips in your wrist or in your temple and all these crazy things that we're seeing coming out now, and digital ID is the next step to a social credit system.